The year is AD 753. You are a Viking child, and you live on a small farm in Norway. It is late at night and the winter winds howl outside. You squat on a dirty floor by a smoky fire, trying to warm your stiff cold hands. Your mother, brother, and two sisters sleep huddled near the wall on pillows stuffed with chicken feathers. You wonder where your father is. He is late getting back from hunting. You try not to worry. Your stomach growls. There is not enough food. There's never enough food. An early frost last fall destroyed many of the vegetables. An ice storm in February killed the cow and two goats. Every night your family goes to sleep with empty bellies. Your mind wanders to the sea. Yes, that is where you would like to be, on a ship sailing swiftly away from this cold, this hunger, this long dark winter night. The Vikings or Norsemen came from an area of northern Europe called Scandinavia, which includes the countries we now call Norway, Denmark and Sweden. These lands were cold and rocky, with very little good farmland. Near the end of the 8th century, there was not enough good farmland to support the many Viking families. So they travelled by sea to other lands. Sometimes they would barter, trading what little they had for what they needed. Sometimes they would raid a village and steal instead. In Norway, the ocean cuts into the coast in many places, making fjords. A fjord is a narrow, deep inlet between steep rocky cliffs, as shown here. Beginning in the late 700s, Viking raiders began attacking their neighbours in Western Europe. No one was happy to see the Vikings. They stormed villages, castles and monasteries where religious men lived. They stole valuables, gold, silver, silk. They burned houses and killed people. Sometimes they made their prisoners slaves. A wealthy person could pay the Vikings to be left alone. People were so terrified of these raiders they prayed, "From the fury of the Norsemen, O Lord, protect us." Much of what we know about the Vikings comes from writing done in monasteries where devout Christian men called monks lived. The Vikings attacked monasteries, stole from them, and burned them down. So naturally monks didn't have many nice things to say about the Vikings. Maybe if the Vikings had written their own history, it would be different. But they tended to tell their stories from one person to another, rather than write them down. Today we call those stories, long since written down, Viking sagas. To record their sagas, Vikings carved picture stones like this one. See the letters that curve across the top of the stone? They called these runes, and they are different from the alphabet that the Romans used. The Vikings began to think, why should we go home to icy winds and rocky farmland? These people have nice weather and good soil. They sent for their families and settled in new territories. They started colonies in many places across Europe, including the places that we now call England, Ireland, Scotland, France and Russia. They even sailed to North America 500 years before Columbus. What made these Vikings so powerful? How could they take over one area after another? For one thing, Vikings were excellent sailors and the best shipbuilders of that time. Viking boats were fast. They used both sails and oars. If you lived close to a river, you were not safe from the Vikings. Viking ships could sail up most rivers. The boats were light enough to be carried across the land to another river, if necessary. Even kings with strong armies had trouble defending themselves. They never knew exactly where or when those sly Vikings would show up. The Vikings were fierce warriors too. Have you ever heard of the word berserk? It means crazy and out of control. It comes from a Norse word meaning bear shirt. Before a battle, Viking warriors threw bearskin cloaks over their shoulders and worked themselves into a frenzy. They went berserk. No wonder all of Europe was terrified. This is a Viking helmet with eye holes and a nose shield from about 700 AD. The Vikings made beautiful objects like this gold pin and this dragon's head carved at the top of a wooden post on a Viking ship.